Hello, 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 it's Auntie. And you may have heard I said I've been feeling challenged to find the correct books to share in terms of story time with Auntie Jessica. Yes, I'm going to be more intentional with the selection of books that I used to read for the children. Well, I normally do get some books from the library. I put that on pause a little bit because obviously it's the vacation time and not all the children are having lessons at the moment. And to give myself a little break from being up and down, as much as I do appreciate and enjoy your company, Liberian Adrian. I need a little break from you sometime. Yes, I haven't really been going to the library to get books. And even in terms of like the books I have here now, the collection, some of them are books that I chose, and some of them are books I get from oh boy, what do you call it? The little library. You know, like when you have a little house. Like there's one in Carlton Supermarket. You get them at some other places too. I think it's called a Little Free Library. I could be wrong. But the whole point of it is that you bring books to donate, and then you take books from what you see there. Yeah? So some of the books I got from there, but Auntie has outgrown them a bit now. So I'm going to be doing more of sharing the stories that my children create. I'm also going to do an exercise where I'm going to start to create a story, and we're going to be taking turns creating this story. That's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned, that's going to come up shortly. And because I know my children are capable and I don't put limitations on them, I'm actually going to share from a book. Some might think it's a bit mature, but I think that they can perhaps relate to a bit of the things, maybe even more than a bit. Yeah, according to the experiences shared. Some of it might be historical, some of it might be things that they can still relate to. Yeah, in this book. A book that I like a lot. And where my drum is? It is In the Castle of My Skin by George Lamming. No limitations for my children. No limitations for Auntie. Or you, take that too. All right. So I'm going to see how far I can get in reading this book. And you let me know if you're enjoying it, if it's a bit too much for you. Let me know some parts of this book Auntie will have to skip over, you know. I remember doing this for, I believe it was A-level English literature at school. Yeah. My teachers at the time having challenges with certain parts of this book. It's quite an amusing memory, but Auntie will use her discretion. So here goes. In the Castle of My Skin by George Lamming. Rain, rain, rain. My mother put her head through the window to let the neighbor know that I was 9, and they flattered me with the consolation that my birthday had brought showers of blessing. The morning, laden with cloud, soon passed into noon, and the noon, neutral and silent, into the sudden grimness of an evening that waded through water. That evening, I kept an eye on the crevices of our wasted roof, where the color of the shingles had turned to morning black, and waited for the weather to rehearse my wishes. But the evening settled on the slush of the roads that dissolved in parts into pools of clay, and I wept for the watery waste of my 9th important day. Yet I was wrong. My mother protested. It was irreverent to disapprove the will of the Lord or reject the consolation that my birthday had brought showers of blessing. It was my 9th celebration of the gift of life, my 9th celebration of the consistent lack of an occasion for celebration. From a window where the spray had given the sill a little wet life, I watched the water ride through the lanes and alleys that multiplied behind the barracks that neighbored our house. The white stalks of the lily lay flat under the hammering rain, then coaxed their roots from the earth and drifted across the upturned clay into the canals and onto the deep river, onto the deep Black River, where by agreement the floods converged. The water rose higher and higher until the fern and flowers on our veranda were flooded. It came through the creases of the door and expanded across the uncarpeted borders of the floor. My mother brought sacks that absorbed it quickly, but overhead, the crevices of the roof were weeping rain and surfacing the carpet and the epir, I don't know how to pronounce that word, I'm sorry, of flowers and fern were liquid, glittering curves which the morning black of the shingles had bequeathed. No one seemed to notice how the noon had passed to evening, the evening to night, nor to worry that the weather had played me false. Nothing mattered but the showers of blessing and the eternal will of the water's source. And I might have accepted the consolation if it weren't that the floods had chosen to follow me in the celebration of all my years, evoking the image of those legendary waters which had once arisen to set a curse on the course of man, as if in serious imitation of the waters that raced outside our lives, meaning our fears and their corresponding ideals seemed to escape down an imaginary drain that was our future. Our capacity for feeling had grown as large as the flood, but the prayers of a simple village seemed as precariously adequate as the houses hoisted on water. Of course, it was difficult to see what was happening outside, but there were paddling splashes of boys' feet and the choke of an engine stuck in mud. I think I'm going to pause there actually. Yeah, I got to read this story in like small bite-sized chunks. It's so beautiful. You see all the attention. Now I'm sharing this from the point of view of sharing the story. Very much village life, Caribbean experience. Is actually written by someone here from Barbados, and it's something we could fully relate to. But you see how he's engaging. I'm speaking now in terms of helping to develop those composition skills. As I always tell my children, you see how he's engaging all of our different sentences. Rain, rain, rain. You're understanding the sound of the rain. You're understanding how the roof looks when he says morning black. Morning as in black that you wear when you're mourning. So you know that's not like a black that is a dark gray. That is like what we would call a jet black. You know, that's the color of the roof. He's sharing with you how he's feeling. You know, he's bringing us into his world, bringing us into his life as a 9-year-old. And imagine, you see how Auntie's always talking about throwing her little tantrums. Imagine how he even goes on to say it was the celebration of the consistent lack of an occasion for celebration. Because life was just like from day to day, you get up, this is what has to be done. You do what have to be done. You go to sleep. The next day you get up again. A pattern, a routine. We surviving. That's all it is. But someone who's looking forward to this day, of course, it's birthday. That we still surviving, don't fool yourself, but things will be a bit different. It will have a different feel to it because it's the birthday. And all his plans, everything has been dashed away because of this rain. And he's getting up in his feelings. And mommy know. Of course, mommy understands that's mommy, but mommy is not allowing him to feel and mope and be disappointed. Mommy is telling him, see it as a blessing. You're not allowed to, don't be fretting. The rain is a blessing. So he's telling us about the sound of the rain, the color, the slush. And then he's even in speaking about the ferns and the flowers and the different things. There's something Joshua and I were talking about. We call this personification. That's a very big word. But all it means is that something that's not a person, you are writing in a way to make me think that is acting like a person. So we can say the lilies, they were stretching out their roots, and you could picture them like moving. Which was another part? No. The white stalks of the lily lay flat under the hammering rain. Hammering. Picture a hammer. Is a hammer something that is soft? No. When you're hammering, it's something that's consistent, first of all, and it's pretty loud, Hammering. So this rain is loud and it's consistent. It's coming all the time. Then coats their roots from the earth and drifted across the upturned clay. So you can see the roots. In other words, the lilies are being uprooted, the roots of the lily, because there's so much rain and it's flooding, the roots are coming out. And nobody seemed to notice. He's noticing because it's a special day for him, but nobody else. Everybody just all caught up in the rain. That it was noon, and then it went on to evening, then it went on to night, and everything is just flowing as normal. There's so many people describe something. It's like if you're experiencing grief, something happens, and a grief is not just like the death of someone. The grief could be losing your job, the end of a relationship, some kind of disappointment. You have some hopes in terms of going on at school or something. You have been dealt with what we would call a bad card, a disappointment. That's a grief. You feel that your whole world is going to end. I mean, you look outside. People are still waking up, going to work, going to school. The postman is still coming, bringing the mail. The bus is still running. Everything's going on as normal, but it's not normal for you. So this how this little boy is feeling. Nothing matters but the showers of blessing and the eternal will of the water source. And then another part, he said, our capacity for feeling had grown as large as the flood. The way how we feel. And he's not just talking about the present, the disappointment, the hopes, and the fears. He's also talking about the future, Yeah. What's going to happen next? Yeah. What's going to happen after school? What's going to happen in a lot of different ways. And then once again, engaging our senses. He cannot see what is happening outside, but he can hear the paddling splashes of boys' feet. The boys outside playing in the flood water. Blissful. And the choke of an engine stuck in the mud. Some car got stuck. Yeah. So I'm going to pause there. It's a button that's taking me back to my childhood, my school days, in terms of, as I said, having to do this book at school. I'm really glad I shared it. It's something that might be a bit much, but yeah, it's really written in a beautiful way, in a way that pulls at your heartstrings, because As I said, very much village life, and every person, you must be able to find something in that story that you could relate to. Yeah. The interaction with the neighbors, the feeling, as in the frustration, something, there has to be something in there that each person can relate to. Yeah, so I'm going to be reading that bit by bit. All right. Auntie challenging you, Auntie. Stretching your mind today. That's where it's at.